And good evening, everybody. Welcome to the latest edition of You Get What You Get. I'm Ricky Hampton with my great friends, Tree McDougal and Tim Turner, coming to you on a special day. Hope everybody's doing well. Um, Tim, Tree, good to see you guys.
Good
Let's
to see
get to
you.
this.
Yes, good to see you guys.
I, and
Yeah.
and I said, go ahead. I'm sorry, Tim.
No, I said yes. Great to be seen. Just a little bit of a letdown from last night, but hey, it is
Yeah,
what it
yeah. If we're going to get to that, we got the NCAA championship game, and we got the women's game that took place uh, Sunday night, Sunday afternoon. But today is a special day, and I think that sadly I don't think a lot of people even know.
I
And
know.
I guess I know you guys know, but I I guess it's a sign of where we are today. Uh, that we don't remember such things, but it was a significant time in our lives. Uh, April 8th, 1974. Tim, do you remember anything about that day?
I remember that I was supposed to stay after school, and for Miss Richburg's class, for cutting up in class, and
Again, again.
yes, again.
And you
I
got
had
kicked out?
no. She just like Tim, you have to stay after school today, and I had a choice to make: stay after school or get on the bus to Atlanta to watch the Braves play the Dodgers. And
Who'd you
I
get on the
chose.
bus with? You
Uh,
just-
it's a bunch of strangers. I just hopped on
I
the
mean,
bus.
did you
I'm
go
a
with
host.
family?
No, it was my mom.
Okay.
It was what it's like a drawn out story. I begged my parents to get tickets to the Braves home opener. I
Mhm.
begged them for weeks. I pleaded for weeks to get tickets to the home opener.
She
And
stump your feet?
no, none of
Like
that. I was
okay.
not a brat. I was the youngest, but not a brat.
Okay.
But I pleaded with them, and then at Sunday afternoon, my mom shows me the tickets to the
Wow.
game, and I was
Uh,
like going around hugging and kissing my dad, hugging and kissing my mom, and I went over to my dog to go hug him, and he just looked at me and growled like, "Don't try it." And I rolled up over there, so I knew I was going to the game. I didn't know if they were going to play or not because they were like thunderstorms and stuff in Georgia that night. As a matter of fact, it was a very cold rain in Atlanta that day. I remember seeing a tree get struck by lightning on the way up to the game. So yeah, it was really wild. It was a bunch of adults. I think I may have been the only kid on the bus because there was a lot of imbibing going up to the game,
mhm.
and there was these two guys. All they were doing just drinking the entire time, and they would scream, "Rip it, rip it, rip it!" They just kept yelling that for an hour and a half, 2 hours onto the bus. So I'm gonna fast forward to sitting there in the stadium waiting for Hank to do his thing, and one of the dudes was sick. I mean, he was like, you know, he'd been drinking off for 2 hours.
Yeah.
So him and his buddy went to the bathroom, and that's where they were when Hank hit 7:15.
Uh,
And they were,
That was his second plate appearance.
yeah, second it back because it's like it's all hype the first go round. Nothing happened. But yeah, they were in there, uh, and they cussed each other the whole 2 hours back to Columbus that evening. So
and
And,
then
and,
did you thank Martha and Robert on the way back?
I was beside myself. My mom kept trying to get me to eat something while I was there, and I refused to eat. I didn't want to leave my seat or do anything. And after Hank hit the home run, I developed an appetite,
Okay.
and I went out to go get something to eat. But when I went out there, they were handing out these placards. They gave you commemorative placards saying you were at the ball game
Mhm.
to make a note of it.
you still
And
got it, Tim?
um, coming to that, Rick.
There's more, but wait.
There's more. So I got the placard. I picked the placard up, and I think I missed the next 4 innings because the Atlanta Stadium was like a donut, and I didn't know where my seat was. So I circled the stadium maybe 4 times before I found my seat. I thought somebody kidnapped me, but I couldn't find my seat. So I finally found where I could sit down. But yeah, I had the placard, and 10 years later, I'm 23. I'm working in the sports department in Columbus, and I go back for the reenactment. Hank is hitting. Al Downing is out there pitching. After the Braves game, they reenact hitting the home run. They brought out the kids, the 2 guys that came by to pat him on the back as he rounded between shortstop. They brought them back. I mean, they did the whole thing. I was kind of disappointed after the fact because I was in the locker room with Aaron, and you saw all the baseballs had a San Diego Padre logo on them. They were home run hitting baseballs. They were not just regular baseballs. Hank wasn't. He was essentially hitting these glorified golf balls.
Okay.
At the ballpark. And I got Al Downing and Hank Aaron both to sign that placard.
Wow.
Which was so, and it was at my parents' home, and it is gone forever. I have no idea where it is.
Oh my
No
God.
idea.
I thought you were coming up with a great story at the end, but
Well, that's it. I mean, I had both the principals to sign it, and the placard's gone.
Well, I do have a question about the reenactment.
Yeah.
I mean, who did they have walking around the stadium as the most kid?
They picked one of the kids off the corner to say, okay, I think this is my entrance. Nope, it's not. And he kept walking for 3 more innings. Each time he came out, a different part of the ballpark.
oh my God, that's so great, Ricky. Thank you for that.
Right.
My goodness! But I want to play this. Just
a standing ovation for Henry Aaron. So the confrontation for the second time. Aaron walked in the 2nd inning. He means the tying run at the plate now. So we'll see what Downing does. Al at the belt, delivers, and he's low. Ball 1. And that just adds to the pressure. The crowd booing. Downing has to ignore the sound effects and stay a professional and pitch his game. 1 ball and no strikes. Aaron waiting. The outfield deep and straight away. Fastball is a high drive into deep left center field. Buckner goes back to the fence. It is gone. Moment for Atlanta and the state of Georgia. What a marvelous moment for the country and the world. A black man is getting a standing ovation in the Deep South for breaking a record of an all-time baseball idol. And it is a great moment for all of us, and particularly for Henry Aaron, who was met at home plate not only by every member of the Braves, but by his father and mother. He threw his arms around his father, and as he left the home plate area, his mother came running across the grass.
Yeah.
Even Chief Oklahoma.
Yeah, Chief Oklahoma was there. Yeah. There's so much to that video that you look at. You see, his mom grabbed him. His mom grabbed him because she did not want him to get shot. The dude in the beige jacket was Hank's personal security guard. So they were hovering around him like that. You see the white guy with the long hair with the long trench coat? Mm-hmm. That's Craig Sager.
Yeah, a young Craig Sager.
Yep. Yes, a young Craig Sager used to do the halftime interviews for TNT. That is him out there going at it. And then you see on the on-deck circle, I don't know if you can see it from that shot, was Dusty Baker, the manager of everybody and a former teammate, was out there. He knew the minute Hank swung, it was out. He raised a fist to the sky. So it was a big night for sure.
And what I remember is Davy Lopes giving him some dap.
Yeah.
When he goes around second.
Yeah.
And Ferguson tries to shake his hand. And he's
like, no, Bill. Joe Ferguson's like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah. he didn't see him.
Yeah.
And Tree, Tim, probably in your neighborhood too, everybody could, back then, you could imitate the baseball swings. And Hank had that little, his swing reminded me a little bit of McCovey, the way the bat kind of wavered a little bit at the top. So we would all take turns. You know what I mean by that? It's kind of hard to put into words.
Yeah, everybody wanted to try to emulate somebody. Back in the day, I think I knew the batting stances of every player.
Yeah.
You get invested in a player. Now I couldn't tell you how anybody bats. I just get up there and watch the game. But back then it was like you're so invested, you pretty much knew what they had for breakfast.
And
it was insane.
You would try to do the pitches too. Of course, the two hardest would be Louis Tiant and Juan Marichal with the. Right.
Meanwhile, I was playing with paper dolls.
But Scully's commentary, a black man in the South getting this. Would he get that today? Have we gone backwards?
He'd get it because he's wearing a Braves uniform. If he's just a regular brother, no. You root for the uniform. When you root for the uniform. Yeah, that's the deal. You love them when they're here, but when they leave, they're persona non grata. That's the way they work.
Didn't they remove Roberto Clemente's?
Yeah, Pittsburgh.
Yeah, and then they were like, "Oh, it was a mistake." I'm like, "Come on," as Ricky would say, "Come on, man."
Yeah, in Pittsburgh, you're right. Tree was like they moved it to sell some ad.
Yeah.
It's so going. Yeah. The first person who should have said, let's not put our ad there, because I can see people saying, yeah, we're not buying anything from that place because they removed Roberto's plaque. But then you got people in the stadium had to okay it, it's if they were waiting for an outcry. I don't understand, why would you do that? There are people in Pittsburgh, I think it's Stargell, Parker, Clemente are the three guys you do not fool with. Those are like, just legends of that. Like Ralph Kiner, the guys from back in the day. Those guys,
What do we credit for that lovely video that you shared?
I don't know. Thank you. Whoever it was, I didn't see a credit on it.
It was Major League Baseball. They did that. Yeah. So it wasn't
I wish they had captured you though, circling the stadium. That would have been super awesome.
Yeah, I for some reason
opportunity.
That's going to haunt me for a long time, I believe.
And we'll talk about it again and
again.
again.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Thanks for sharing.
But just think about doing that with Clemente. A man who died going to help people.
Right.
Who he died in a plane crash while he was going to try to help people who were devastated from an earthquake.
Right.
A humanitarian.
Well, the way the ballpark sits, I mean, a few years ago, 2021, I went to Pittsburgh for a weekend and had taken a game there, saw them play the Nationals, I believe. And that ballpark in Pittsburgh the view is probably one of the most beautiful views of any ballpark anywhere, because the center field is pretty much open to the skyline of Pittsburgh, which is bustling and gleaming and just gorgeous. But just beyond the center field wall is one of the rivers, or three rivers, where old Three Rivers Stadium used to be, one of those rivers. And you have to cross the Roberto Clemente Bridge to get over to the ballpark.
Mm.
So I'm going, you got a bridge named after the brother right there, Bob, beyond the ballpark, and you're going to take it off the wall inside the stadium. So, I mean, it was crazy, just crazy.
And I was nobody notice or say anything. I don't know.
If it was like a season ticket holder or somebody that said, "Hey, what happened to Roberto?" What what
was wait.
Pittsburgh is a beautiful city. When you come into the airport and you make that turn into downtown, it is a sparkling jewel.
It is. It has gotten a bad rap over the years for being just gross and everything. But Pittsburgh is a beautiful place. It really is. Yeah.
But yeah, man. Hey, Hank Aaron, my goodness, man. Thank you, sir, for everything. And that is just a great memory. And I
think it was the 50th anniversary of the Jackie Robinson breaking the color barrier. And I was doing a story. I was working in Orlando at the time, and I went to spring training and was doing a story. And I asked Frank Thomas about what did he think about Jackie Robinson's accomplishment. He was like, it really didn't impact me, blah 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 type thing. And it's like, wow, dude, how not conscious can you be of what's going on? So as part of the story, I went down to West Palm Beach and shared that story with Hank Aaron, and I got a bunch of quotes that will never see the light of day. When I told him what Frank said, because he was not happy at all about Frank not knowing his history that way. It was interesting that these cats, can be so oblivious and so self-absorbed that they don't really dig into people who help them get where they are. Put it that way.
And you look at where baseball is today.
Well, it's regressed for sure.
Yeah, I talked about that.
Yeah, before I came up here, I was blown away. I saw where the Braves had replaced their starting pitcher, and I saw a brother on the mound, and that stunned me. Then I saw the name up there, and I said, "Okay, I got you, De Los Santos." His name was not Smith or Harris or Jones, so it was still a dearth. Yeah,
kind of a what?
We have a dearth of African American ball players, especially pitchers. We don't have them like we used to. Kids aren't playing baseball the way they used to. But somehow they're going to find 50 of them who still play baseball come All-Star Game weekend here in Atlanta in July, because it's going to be like an HBCU Classic where 50 of the top HBCU baseball players will play in a game during All-Star Game festivities.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
Is it going to be nice? Because most of those players are going to be Cuban or white.
Well, they did say HBCU. They did not say it'll be 50 black ball players.
But you can't say the word historically now, right? It's just.
What
is that one of the banned words historically?
It's historically. Is it like DEI? Is that what the deal is?
That's one of the banned words historically.
Okay.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
That's really tight. Okay.
My goodness.
Just Black College University. I'm not sure. And I think black might have been. I think the word black was one of the words.
Hold up. Did you just say colored?
Black was the color black.
Oh.
It was the word black.
Okay.
I think colored might be in, but black is out.
I got you.
Well, let's move on.
Yes.
We had the NCAA title game last night. Florida emerged with
I am ashamed to say I totally missed it.
2-point victory over Houston. It was a knockdown drag out.
I did see the replay.
If you like defensive basketball, that game was at the top of the list for you last night. Here's some of that. Coming down the stretch, Houston built a 12-point lead in the second half.
Yeah.
But
as you can see here in this clip, Houston is ahead.
yeah, actually ahead with 7
And they had
minutes
to do
to go. And they had held Clayton in check.
Right. He had no points in the first half, and I think he might have gotten 11 in the second. I'm not certain. He didn't have his best game, but he still ended up being the MVP of the tournament. So,
He had some big buckets for him down the stretch. But these were two teams, in my opinion, man, they just get after you. They play ugly and grimy and gritty. That was all that was yesterday. Houston could have Houston turned it over their last 3 possessions.
Yeah,
they could not get a shot.
Right. They didn't give them a chance to win.
Yeah,
Granted, who did Duke lose to Florida? Is that what it was?
I think so.
Duke lost to Florida.
Yeah.
Because I'm thinking how cheap. I mean, as physical as these guys have been playing in all these games, that was the cheapest foul ever on Cooper Flag to give Florida a chance. That was tough to see. I mean, because bodies were flying all over the place all the time. Granted, I am. It never saddens me to see Duke lose, but I don't like to see referees decide a game or have kids have an opportunity to take it from them. I just don't think that's right. And I thought that's what happened with Duke. Granted, they blew a lead too. And I'm not giving Florida credit. Florida fought back in both games to win. I put it that way.
Yeah. I mean,
it wasn't like
SEC basketball might be better than SEC football now.
That might be a stretch, right? But, I think this is going to quiet folks who have started early in the year, early in the tournament, screaming about 14 to 16 teams making the tournament, saying the SEC didn't deserve that many, and you had 4 in the Great 8, and you had 2 in the Final 4, and one of them had to lose because they were playing against each other.
Right.
So
that's the second straight turnover. And that came off of just great hustle by the Florida defender. I mean, he got out there and made him change the shot.
Yeah.
But I was pulling for Kelvin Sampson.
I was too.
I was pulling for that brother to get one there.
Well, I was thinking of trying to find the clip that he was at his press conference where he said he hopes his being in the Final 4 will open the door for more black coaches, more black athletic directors, more black administrators. I mean, he was very much, that was his thing front and center during his press conference. So he did not shy away from that topic.
That was CBS, right?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
That clip was NCAA.com.
Oh, okay, NCAA. Okay.
Yeah, I love it when guys aren't afraid to use their platforms. When these guys get up there, I just want 5 guys to go out there, the best guys. I don't see color. The only color is the uniform that they're wearing.
Mm-hmm.
Come on, man. Come on.
No, he was putting it right out there, because that people can't help but use that. He was the oldest coach and he was black, and the kid from Florida was the second youngest, and he was white. And so there are always those dynamics. It's always the black-white dynamic in anything that you do, even when it's non-existent. Because then you can, we can roll over and talk about the women's tournament, and people were really upset about. Well, ESPN seems like they're trying to create a false narrative for Dawn Staley, and she didn't appreciate that.
What did they say? I think I saw a headline, but I didn't.
It was a headline.
What was the false narrative, rather?
It kind of inferred that she was she was dissing Becker rather. And she was like, I said I respect her. She was saying, I've said nothing but positives about her. And she thinks that ESPN, I think she said that they owe her an apology for how they did the story. And I don't think it was, I termed it clickbait on on our show run, but I don't think it was so much clickbait as it was, people who write the stories don't do the headlines, and that a lot of times gets people in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
It's copying these people, and people like really hurriedly do something, and it becomes a mess like it is now.
Mm-hmm.
But when I watched this game, UConn was just a better team.
Oh gosh, yes.
Yeah, they were just South Carolina ran into a team that's like some of their teams from the past couple of years. No shame in losing to those ladies. And I was looking at the television viewer ratings. The men's game was the fourth all time. Florida and Houston.
Mm-hmm.
The women's game was actually down from the last 2 years. Shows you the impact of Caitlin Clark. They had 11 million viewers last year. They had 4 million this year. But if you throw out the last 2 years, this is one of the highest rated women's game they've had. So the women's game is actually continuing to grow, even though it slipped a little bit last year, because we had, with Caitlin Clark, it was just, a phenomenon with women's basketball, with the rivalries and all that. And some of those rivalries, you wonder how much was really a rival or some media. Yeah.
I think just to create some kind of issue where there was a non-issue of these two athletes.
But I can see where Staley is correct, because it's all you heard about was Bucher and her quest for a championship in her senior year, and nothing about the defending champs who were undefeated last year, and how they, it was all about Caitlin Clark last year. And nobody's denying Caitlin Clark was great. She was great then. She still is great in the WNBA. She's an outstanding player. At the same time, you create these narratives where it seems like you are making people take sides instead of just appreciating both teams and what they do.
So like in a movie, everybody's got to have a villain, right?
Yeah. And there was no need to create a villain. It's two great teams. And I think South Carolina, more to the point, they didn't have a superstar. UConn did. Just like Iowa last year was a superstar, but Staley, she had superstars on her team last year as well. But this thing where you have to create some sort of tension, enmity to get something, to appreciate it. That didn't make sense to me. I thought that
you said in those newsroom meetings, man.
Yeah.
You know how that goes when those agendas get set, right?
Right.
And then you go into some of these meetings and nobody's in there that looks like you. So that makes a difference.
Mm-hmm.
Well, people want to say stuff about people, and they use reporters, the people on the front line, to get fragged. The editors are not in the battle, but you're the ones taking the bullets and the hits. I think of I just got into Orlando, and one of my editors, who was always trying to stir up something, asked me to ask Dennis Scott about his weight when I interviewed him. And the minute I mentioned his weight, Dennis proceeded over the next 10 minutes to cuss me out. I didn't know. I thought that was something that, was a common knowledge type thing, but it was something that he said, the newspaper's always doing this, blah, blah, blah. I got set up, and I did not trust that editor anymore.
There you go.
With anything. I had to rebuild that relationship because of that. And that was my first time out the box. They gave me his phone number, called his crib, he ended up cussing me out.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Have you seen it? You were able to clear that up over time, I guess, right?
Oh, while there, but but it still was jacked up to have somebody have an agenda and then have you be part of that foolishness. Yeah. It's people will look at media and think about how they're all one thing, and it's not that. And there's so many different moving parts. And the people, the higher ups, a lot of times will determine how things are covered. So you have to be very cognizant and careful of that. And I guess that was ABC. I think it was a YouTube video that was taken from ABC on the women's game. So I want to make sure that we mention that.
Yeah.
Somebody's got a nice little tune going.
And we got guys hopping in the portal, moving left and right, coaches hopping in the portal, moving to new schools.
I just saw that thing about university. It was a San Diego State, a University of San Diego, or something like that. Their coach got a new job. Everybody left. The entire basketball program said, "I'm out too."
What school?
It was somewhere. It was a San Diego. Is a San Diego University of San Diego or San Diego State. One of them, where the coach left or got a new gig, and people just bolted for the portal. There's several of Maryland's. I think their team did that as well. So
one guy stayed at Maryland.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Well, he figures he's going to start.
Let's see, I'm checking this with San Diego State. Yeah, they got a bunch of guys that are moving on here, and it's hard to keep up with. It is so much movement. But I want to get to a guy who may be moving to another country, and
well, I was not call it moving.
Yeah. Let me just read some of this. Duke University basketball star, and forgive me for the pronunciation if I mispronounce it. Kevin Mullock could be deported after Secretary of State Little Marco Rubio canceled all of his South Sudanese passport holders' passports residing in the United States.
But not just him, all Sudanese.
Yeah. Little Rubio said.
What are you reading? Go on.
Little Marco said, due to the failure of South Sudan's transitional government to accept the returns of its citizens in a timely manner. I shouldn't joke about this because that's serious for this kid who could 7'2", he could be a first round. He will be a first. Well, I don't know if there wasn't any questions about his status. He would definitely be a first round draft pick in the NBA. Yeah. And now he could be deported. I mean, I don't know if Duke could step in. Duke says they're looking into the deportation edict and are working expeditiously to understand the implications for Duke students. But man, they're yanking people off campuses left and right. 4 people from the University of Michigan over in Ann Arbor were snatched off campus and deported the other day. It's really going to be interesting to see what happens down in Duke.
Yeah, because it's in sports now, and everybody's watching this. And if he gets to stay, and other folks are going because he plays basketball, that's going to really irritate a bunch of folks. Maybe maybe that's the idea, is to make people hate basketball. If they say, well, he's here serving a purpose, or that kind of thing, because that's the deal. They don't want people over here who they feel are doing nothing, or people who they think are part of gangs, which is something that's just all you have to do is label somebody. He's a potential gang member, and then that's all she wrote. You got to go.
But if you can help us win in our favorite sports, that's okay.
Absolutely.
If you can help entertain us.
Absolutely.
Well, I don't think the NBA is one of his favorite sports. Talking about the guy 1,600.
Oh, no.
Yeah, because he's been checked quite a bit by NBA players over the past. LeBron James calls him a bum. So,
right. And I'm thinking about who the champs. I think Boston. I don't know if people decided they didn't want to go or not. No, last year Mookie Betts did not go to the White House. The last time the Dodgers won, Mookie Betts did not go to the White House because he didn't want to meet him. This time there's a photo of Betts shaking his hand. Things change over the. People mellow sometimes.
And maybe it's not mellow. Maybe it is pressure.
Well, yeah.
I'm sure some of that too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you get put in that situation. You damn if you do, you damn if you don't.
So like universities and other companies are under pressure to follow those different guidelines. And so while he's not a company, we don't know what his motives are for that.
Well, here's the brand. I'm thinking of people who should be able, calculate the money you're going to lose for taking a stand. And you do that. You think about that kind of thing, and people who are willing to do that, like Golden State. It's like, yeah, we win a championship, we're not going. It's that kind of thing, you try to decide who's going to go.
Love that.
Yeah, or the Eagles, are the Eagles going to go or not, to the White House? Granted, I mean they haven't gone yet, and you'll see who goes and who doesn't, and that's going to be another thing. I mean, do college kids have the same latitude? Because they're going to have UConn and Florida there at the White House at some point, and then a big room full of burgers. That's waiting for them. So,
well, it's Florida. Yeah, they're in Florida, and Florida is a home state, right, or where he's living,
right?
Where he is. So, for the most part, so it's a good chance they'll go, but I don't know, or maybe they'll leave it up to the students.
But think about it, guys. That used to be just going to the White House, no big deal. It didn't even matter who was president.
Right. Right.
Every now and then you might get one or two guys, but it was never looked at as,
no, we ain't going.
And it depends on where you get from too, because I know when Obama was in the White House, there were people who did not go, and they were looked as these guys who were standing up for something, as opposed to somebody who was, it was seen as a positive on some outlets that they would do that. They're taking that kind of stand.
What's funny? Years ago, when my son Ricky Jr. was in middle school, he had a chance to go and meet George Bush. I did not vote for George Bush. I was not never voted for him either time. But I wanted him to go to that and have an opportunity to take that in, to see the man is still the president of the United States.
True.
That was worth the experience to me, for him
I agree with that.
To experience that.
But now, which president will they meet?
Oh, I know one he would meet.
This one.
Which one? Yes, the one elected or the other one?
Oh, you mean Musk? President Musk?
Oh.
Yeah. So which one would they shake hands with?
Oh, yeah. Good one.
Both? I'm just asking.
The co-president.
Or as a coworker once said, I'm just asking.
Just
there we go.
Just asking.
Well, speaking of politics.
Oh, speaking of accent.
Okay.
Speaking of accent,
somebody got this right. Speaking of asking, Winston-Salem State is hoping they can get a $112 million allotment from the state of North Carolina to build a new health, physical education, and recreation complex at Winston-Salem State University.
Go Rams.
Right now, everything's housed at the CE Gaines Center, Big House Games.
Right.
And if that's the same facility that was there when I was going down there years ago, they need a new one. But it's going to be interesting to see if this goes through in this climate.
Right. Well, these HBCUs who've relied heavily on federal assistance are now trying to go to the states to get money, and that's what they're doing here in North Carolina. And hopefully, North Carolina is going to pony up. When I first saw the headline in the story, it said HBCU goes to state to get funds. First thing I thought about was Ricky and his in Tennessee State.
I ain't going to say it.
Huh?
I ain't going to say it. Go ahead.
The money that they are owed by the state of Tennessee, and so but when it was Winston-Salem, and I think A&T has something as well in that package, don't they, Rick?
Yes, they do. Yes, they do.
So there's the two schools.
Two of my favorite HBCUs.
Oh yeah.
So they'll both get something out of this. So hopefully that'll come to fruition for them.
You know, my husband graduated from Winston-Salem State, so
he's a former basketball player there, right?
He did, but started at Livingston, then Winston-Salem State. But yeah, he played there.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. If you say so. I should know these things.
Yes.
I have to tell you guys a quick story. Winston-Salem State. The mighty Virginia Union golf team, we were in town for a match at Winston-Salem, and my teammate Lonnie Smith, who was an Army veteran, so he was older. Lonnie was 30, maybe at least 30, that served in the Army, and our coach could not make it, the legendary Tricky Tongue Harris. So he put Lonnie in charge of us for the weekend. And we're all thinking, Tree, this is the worst man to put in charge of us. Because Lonnie was like the guy off the old Leave It to Beaver go, yes, coach. Oh, thank you, sir.
He was Eddie Haskell?
Yeah, he was Eddie Haskell. I'm like, he's the worst guy to put in charge of us. Anyway, we're down there. We're at the hotel, and we goes out. Lonnie has the Virginia Union car, and we come out of the store, and Lonnie yells, "Race to the car!" So we start running out of the store. I'm gonna leave the last one. I'm the biggest guy. I'm the slowest guy, so I'm hauling my behind off because this crazy dude might leave me for real. And the doggone cops roll up as we're running out of the store. The next thing I know, the Virginia Union golf team is being held up with our car with Virginia Union on it, being frisked by the cops.
Wow.
Why were you running out of the store?
We were just running. He said nobody stole anything. But he was saying the last one to the car is gonna get left.
And so they saw some young.
So I take off first, being a big guy. I gotta get a little head start, right? Everybody start, and the cops pull up just in time. And Lonnie was able to talk us out of it, but they had our hands up. And you know,
and you live to tell about it. So
yeah, I think Tree. Thank you.
What year was that in Winston-Salem? What year was that?
Winston-Salem. But you're absolutely right, because you know how quickly things can go bad for us.
What year was that?
It would have been 1980.
Okay.
Yeah. My senior year, 1980. Yeah. Anyway, I want to share that with the world out there.
So you had a brush with the cops. Tim got lost in the stadium.
He's still walking around Atlanta.
I got nothing.
Still walking.
I got to come up with something.
Well, wait a minute. You finished a marathon this past weekend.
I have a marathon, but it's not as funny as your story.
But you were doing it on a bad knee, weren't you? What did you tell me?
I did do it miraculously the knee and hamstring, which I'm just felt better that day. But about 6 miles in, the tongue of my sneakers started hurting my foot. So
Oh my goodness.
by the end of the race, when Reg saw me at the finish line, I was just like, I should have texted him, bring my recovery shoes, because I was texting, I'm at mile 6, I'm feeling good. I'm at mile 12. So he, know to be at the finish line. And because he ran the 5K. And so he's just waiting on me. And then I should have texted, bring some comfortable shoes, because then I was just limping to the car after that. It was miserable. But I finished.
But you got it in.
Got it in. I didn't think I was. I would have deferred it, but it was going to cost money to defer it, like $35, which is nothing. But I was like, no, I'm just going to suck it up and go. Just do it.
Well, see, that right there is a review of the shoe that you wore. I was thinking of getting some for the Peachtree, and now that you tell me that somehow the tongues irritate,
no, my previous shoes did the same thing, but on a different foot. So I don't know if it's like my feet are swelling. I don't know, but I kept stopping to adjust it, and it just at that point probably it was too painful to assist moving it. So it's not the shoes.
Okay.
It was the tongue of that shoe, but I don't know why.
When you guys run the Peachtree, is there in Detroit when they have the big one here is the Detroit Free Press race is always the biggest one in the state of Michigan. Mm-hmm. When they have that race, this has to be the friendliest town in the world. That whole day, everybody is courteous and kind, and there's just an uplifting thing. Detroit's a great place in it, but on that day it goes to another level. Does that happen? Do you feel that when you do the Peachtree down there? No.
I was waiting for Tree to talk, because to me, because I remember the first time I ran, I was really terrified. I just didn't want to finish last, because I'd never done it before. Tree's husband Red was like, yeah, it really isn't that serious.
It's not that serious.
You will not finish last. And then I could see that as I was going along, there were people running and taking beers from people on the side and drinking beer as they were running the thing. So these are people in the back who are not trying to go for trophies. Back there, I just wanted to make sure I finished before the wheelchair participants.
And there's always a crowd of people. They're trying to hurry up and get to the start. But here they do it in waves. At the AJC race, they do it in waves. Here, it's just everybody just, bunches up at the start of the race, and then they take off running, and then they stop and they just start walking. But they're kind of, clogging up the people who really are trying to run, unless you're up front. Yeah, it's a different dynamic.
It is fun. It's like most of the time, you're just thinking out there just to have fun. Only time this year, this one dude was out there saying, he screamed, "America!" Because it's held on the 4th of July every year, and it's like, why must we interject that into it?
Well, sometimes people there running like costumes, like patriots and patriotic type of stuff, and so again, it's like 4th of July. So the question was, are they nice? Are people nice?
Oh yeah.
I think
they're nice.
Yeah, they're nice.
Unless
they just want to have a good time.
Hey, we just got a couple more minutes. I want to hit this thing about the latest matchup in the Circle City Classic. It's going to be September 27th. And this is no disrespect to either institution.
However,
that sounds like a bless your heart. That sounds like a bless your heart.
However,
Morgan State is going to play Miles College at Lucas Oil Stadium on September 27th. That's just not a good matchup for a classic game.
But did you call him and tell him that, Ricky?
No, I didn't, but I would have been glad to give my little 2 cents.
Well, you still can.
I
saw black college football as well as I do.
Dude, I was covering it back in the 80s when the Cosby Show was really fueling a lot of the HBCUs, and it was, everybody was on fire for HBCUs in the 80s. And I went to 2 Circle City Classics. Jackson State played FAM, and thinking they played Tennessee State up there. And this was at the Hoosier Dome was back in the day, and it was sold out.
Yeah.
I mean, it was, raftered from the rafters to the field, nothing but black people. And they have it's a big festive weekend. BET was back there because they had Video Soul on that Friday night would do their show from the Circle City Classic. We had Donnie Simpson there with these artists, and they would do the show from there. I mean, it was a big deal in Indy, and it's gone down over the years because of matchups like this. If they have like a FAM and an A&T, like something like that, or somebody, these major people going up in there, because you can't reach down in the SIAC and get Miles College, and and Morgan State from is the MEAC. Those just aren't attractive. Howard needs to be playing up in there. Howard and Grambling and Southern and Jackson State, and people like FAM. And those folks need to be up there to keep it going. You can't take some of these lesser schools and expect the people to show out.
Well, I would say it's a lesser school. They're a lesser football program, and I know that's
lesser programs. I'm not talking about the academics at all.
Thank you.
Not these football programs, but at the same time, Morehouse is going to play Howard in New York again in September.
Of course, Tree, we are talking to a Morehouse man. He probably thinks we all come from lesser schools.
Because the trip to New York in September will be to enjoy the city, because we know what's going to happen on that Saturday afternoon when we face Howard. just enjoy the scenery. So
get ready for the A whipping.
Yeah, exactly. You have alumni who show up for those games, which is what it's about. Who travels? Southern's going to travel.
Yeah.
Grambling's going to travel. Those are the type of people. FAM will travel. Tennessee State will travel for a good cause.
Yeah.
Not everybody does that.
Yeah, and TSU, it better be a HBCU team,
right?
Because they continue to reject the OVCTs that they play, and why they have not addressed that, I'll never know. We don't have a lot of time left in the show tonight, but maybe that's something we could talk to next time we're on the air. But that is, that's not a good matchup. Deion Sanders, the brother's just getting paid 5 years, $52 million extension with Colorado.
And I was surprised.
I wouldn't say he flirted with the NFL. Did the NFL flirt with him? Or did the media, was that a media thing?
I think it's probably more media generated, because they tried to pair him with every opening that was out there. The two openings in particular, Vegas and Dallas.
Dallas, right?
Dallas would have been a fit. But then again, Jerry likes to have the spotlight, and Deion is
that wouldn't work.
Deion's high water, so that would have been problematic there. Because have you seen any Cowboy coach that has just not just acquiesce the media coverage to the owner?
Nobody, nope.
Did any Cowboy coach have a weekly radio show? The owner did. So
the owner does. I mean,
it does. So that wouldn't have been the
and
thing.
He holds press conferences after every game.
Yeah.
Just go.
I don't know what
coach the team, man.
I never know what Arthur Blank thinks after a game with the Falcons. Everybody knows what Jerry thinks about the Cowboys.
Thank goodness.
Thank
goodness. And the news out of the NBA today, and we're heading into the playoffs next week. The Nuggets fired Mike Malone, won a championship 2 years ago. Been there the last 10 years, and won 400 games over 10 seasons, and built the Nuggets into a Western Conference power. But bro, what have you done for me lately?
But did he build it? You think about Mike Budenholzer the same way happened. The Bucks won, and 2 years later he was gone. Malone wins, and does he win without Jokic? Nikola Jokic makes it. He covers a lot of sins, as does Antetokounmpo in Milwaukee. They cover a lot of sins of the coaches.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
If that's what they're trying to say, just like the Grizzlies firing their coach, I would think the Grizzlies overachieve every year. As much as Jai's been out, and for them to still be winning, you wonder about the NBA and the thinking behind some of these folks. I mean, just if Luka can get traded, the rest of the league can be just as crazy, right?
Right.
I wanted to ask you guys too that I wanted to ask you guys that I think I heard something like Shaq said that the NBA today is soft. Did you guys hear that? And that LeBron wouldn't be able to play back in the day. What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, he'd have played back in the day for sure. I mean,
Well, maybe not played as long, like into his 40s.
He wouldn't have this. I don't think he'd have the success. Nobody, because back then you were allowed to hurt people.
Right. I think that's where they were going with that.
He'd have got beat up. He would have
got really beaten up. I mean, the Pistons would have tenderized them. The Bulls would have finished them. That kind of thing. They would not allow him to do the things that he does. Say what you want to about Michael Jordan. He was a tough ball player. He got beat up a lot.
And if everybody's shooting from the 3-point line, they're not right in the mix. Yeah.
This game, you're absolutely right, Tree. Teams jack up 53s a game. It's just
you're talking about your boy that used to be. I mean, my goodness, when I saw him in college, he was a jump shooter, and all of a sudden he became this bruiser in the NBA. Anthony Mason.
Anthony Mason. Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so he's a guy. They said he and Oakley and people like that would have destroyed folks like LeBron.
Yeah. Well, LeBron would have held his own. I mean, he's a big, strong guy too.
Now he is. Now.
The people say the same thing about Steph.
I was about to say that, but did you see the video of him playing against Houston this week? They had a guy literally inside his jersey, and Steph was frustrated. Nobody played defense. Nobody played defense like the Rockets played against them.
I would still say he'd be a great player, and so would LeBron. Of course, we'll never know because
we'll never know.
Because I've had people tell me, "Wilt Chamberlain could never play today." I'm like, "Are you freaking kidding me?"
He couldn't. He's not alive.
Yeah.
He was a strong, big, strong dude. To look at Chamberlain, you think of some of these people, and along those lines, sort of kind of tangentially, people always talk about the greatest basketball players, and then they always leave out Kareem. And if he could have played in any of these eras, I mean, he could have done what he did back in the 80s now. This dude, he lost 3 games in high school, 2 games in college, and won 6 NBA titles, and he's never talked about as being among the greats. It's always LeBron or Kobe or Michael Jordan or Steph. Yeah, Steph, people like that. And they never talk about Kareem like that. And
that's why you got to do that. You're absolutely right, Tim. That's why, to me, you have to look at the generations. He's the greatest of his generation. And then you get those exceptions like Kareem and Wilt. And they were just awesome.
Who's that, Tree?
I said people forget.
Oh, yeah.
But, we're not going to forget that story of you running around the stadium. But we're never going to forget that. But people forget about the greats, right?
Just like like Hank Aaron. I wonder how many people know what happened to that.
Oh.
As soon as I saw the calendar, I know it I know it when it's April 1st. A week from now, I ain't care. That was a big, big deal.
Yeah. And it
I had it
still is.
drilled into my head by a good friend of ours, Mr. Turner.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It's on my calendar now.
Yeah, for real. It's a big
Yeah,
day.
I would have loved to have been there for that reenactment. Hey, sir, are you okay? No, I'm part of the reenactment.
I'm still circling the stadium trying to find my seat. Thank you.
I got 4 more times around.
I mean, I had been there when I was a kid, so I could see that. Yeah. I mean, it can happen today. It could happen today for me.
We used to go there for the Atlanta Jazz Festival.
It's a big concrete circle, people. I was 13 years old. It's a circle.
Okay.
Yeah, but you knew your ABCs and you could
Well, you know, right? You're right. But I would peek in every so often to see where I was, and you know, they should have left breadcrumbs, something.
Thank you for sharing that story with us. That's a classic. We will not forget that.
No, you won't.
We got to get out of here. We will be back next week. We got the NBA playoffs coming up, and man, we gotta start talking some draft stuff.
But you know what we totally didn't talk about tonight, and Ricky, I cannot believe you didn't even bring an inkling of it up to us.
The Masters
happening on the guest. We'll have a champ by next Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The Masters is not the same, and I don't even want to get into it because we'll be on the air not another 30 minutes. But we'll talk about it next week.
Next week. But I like the sweatshirt you have on.
Yeah, this is a company out of Detroit. I should, unless they take out an ad, I ain't going to follow. No, this is East Side Golf.
I like it.
Here out of Detroit.
I want one. Tim, did you show up your shirt today?
Are we wearing gold chains on the course now? Here we go.
There you go.
Hey, well, you're from Detroit.
Nice shirts, guys. Very nice.
I showed y'all that picture of if the Lions made it to the Super Bowl, right? With all the guys in the mink coats.
Oh, yes.
That's the primary reason. If it can't be the Falcons, I want those brothers to show up at the Super Bowl.
There you go.
Hey, well, we got to get out of here. We'll be back next Tuesday for Tree McDougal, Tim Turner. I'm Rick Hampton.
All right. Be kind, everybody.